So, to start with, like we just learned, today we are going to learn a topic which is of interest for anybody when it comes to physics or astronomy, and the topic is obviously called as relativity. I mean, it is one of the most fascinating topics that we have in physics because it has all the elements that could be used to make a perfect movie like Interstellar. So, be it comes to black hole or wormhole or time dilation or traveling, so it has everything in it. So, to start with, um, tell me one thing. As soon as we say relativity, which is the scientist which comes in our head? Obviously, it's Sir Albert Einstein. Obviously. So let me tell you one thing that yes, even though relativity was developed by Einstein, it has its fundamental origin, it has its fundamental root in the times of Galileo people. Galileo Galilei has given us certain transformations which was later developed to something more universal and which later gave birth to this concept of relativity. I hope you are also aware that Galileo is called as father of modern physics, by the way. When it comes to physics, it is the Galileo whom we call as the father and not Einstein or Newton. Okay. So before that, tell me one thing. Just just make a guess. I just want to see whether you are aware of the exact numbers or if at all you have the ability to give a good fluke. Can you guess the age difference between Einstein and Newton people? What do you think is the age difference between Einstein and Newton? You can make a fluke. It's okay. You can type maybe in the chat box as well. So, okay, so Jasleen has, I think, so given me a number. She is saying, sir, 20 years. Okay, Evin has said 100 years. Actually has said 100 years. To your surprise, people, these two legends, they have an age difference of 236 years between them. People, Newton was a scientist of 17th century, and Einstein was a scientist of 19th and 20th century. They, they have 2 century age difference between them, everybody. Newton was, please remember, he was born, just hold on, let me do a setting. Yeah, Newton was people born in 1643 and Einstein, everybody was born in 1879. They have an age difference of 236 years between. Happy realization. Yeah, you guys are in your bachelors and you still have no idea that they are separated by 2 centuries. You are saying 20 years and 100 years. At least you should have said 2 or 3 centuries. Come on. Anyway, please remember this. These are the two legends and they have an age difference of 236 years. So while we're talking about Newton and Einstein, so like I said, people, today we are going to learn relativity. And when it comes to relativity, people, before Newton and Einstein, there are other two legends which are of more significance when it comes to relativity. The first scientist is our Galileo Galilei, everybody. And the other scientist is Henrik Lorentz. Henrik Lorentz. These are the two names which are going to be of more significance when it comes to relativity, people. Well, Galileo was born in 1564 and Lorentz was everybody born in 1853. They have an age difference of 289 years between them, everybody. Okay, so in fact, basically, you can say that Galileo and Newton, they are almost of the same era, and Einstein and Lorentz both are of the same era. Now, why are we talking about Galileo and Lorentz? I've already told these people. Let me tell you that people, Galileo is called as the father of modern physics. He is the father of modern physics because he was the first person to use experiment to prove something in physics. He was the first person to use experiment to prove something in physics. Before him, everything was mostly theoretical, and people never, really believed in physics. They believed more in, philosophy. So most of the scientists before Galileo were used to be called as philosophers, but now we call them as scientists because they prove things. They not only tell you things, but they prove things and they prove it experimentally. Okay. So now let us learn something which was devised by Galileo, and then we will learn something which was devised by Lorentz. To start with, the thing that we require when it comes to relativity, it is called as Galilean transformation, which was given by Galileo in around 16th century. Galilean transformation. This is where the fundamental of the relativity lies, people. Okay. So let us assume that we have two different frames. Let us say this is the frame S, and then there is another frame S dash somewhere here. This is another frame S dash. Okay. Now, both the frame S and S dash are initially coinciding. Both the frames S and S dash are initially coinciding. Now, what happens is people after some time S dash starts moving. S dash starts moving with speed with speed v with respect to S. S dash starts moving with speed v with respect to s along x-axis along x-axis. So let us say, so after some time, people, after some time, let us say after some time, uh, S is at its initial position here, but S dash has started moving, people, and let us say after some time S dash reaches this point, people. S dash reaches this point after some time. Okay, it S dash reaches the above point after some time. The above point after some time. Okay. Now let us consider a particle, people. Let us say a particle P. Tell me initially the coordinates of the particle P. What are the coordinates when it comes to x-axis? Let us say the coordinate when it comes to x-axis are, people, x, y, z, and t. And when it comes to s dash axis, let us say it is, people, x dash, y dash, z dash, and t dash. X, Y, Z, T. These are the coordinates of with respect to frame S, and X dash, Y dash, Z dash, and T dash. These are the coordinates when it comes to frame S dash. But tell me, initially, to yaar, they both are coinciding, right? The distance of particle free from S, it is also equal to the distance of the particle free from S dash. So initially X and X dash are equal, people. Initially X and X dash are equal because distance of particle free P from both the X's are same. But after some time t, people, after some time t, particle is at the same position. Particle is at the same position. Let us say it is at a distance x from S, from frame S. But from S dash now the distance has changed, people. Now the distance has changed. And do you think X and X dash are equal? No. Now X is not equal to X dash, people. They both are different. And what is the relationship between them? Let us say it has traveled a distance of this much, people. Let us say it has traveled a distance of d. Okay. It has traveled a distance of t, and it was traveling with the speed of v, everybody. And time was how much? T. What is distance? Speed into time. What is distance? Speed into time. So d can be written as v into t. Any doubts? Now can you establish a relationship between x dash, x, and d, everybody? What is the relationship between x dash, x, and d? This is x, this is x dash, and this is d. So can you see from the figure that d plus x dash, this gives me x. Can you see from the figure? Correct? D plus x dash. Hasan, समझ रहा है क्या? D plus x dash. This is equals to x, people, है ना? So x dash क्या हो जाएगा? X dash will be equal to x minus d. X dash will be x minus d. So can I say x dash is x minus what is d, people? V into t. So x dash is x minus v into t. This is the first transformation that was given by whom, people? Galileo. But tell me one thing. Only the x coordinate will change, people, because the frame is moving along x-axis. Arey, but the y coordinate will remain the same, na yaar. Look at the diagram. Ye y coordinate hai, correct? The y coordinate, does it change? Does the y coordinate change, people? No. For both the frames, the y coordinate remains same. So yes, x dash becomes equal to x. X dash becomes equal to x minus vt. But y dash, it will remain y. Z dash, it will remain z. And time is absolute when it comes to relativity. So the time passed in frame S should be equal to time passed in the frame S dash in Galilean transformation. T dash will also be equal to T. Only X, people, changes. Only the X coordinates are not equal, but the Y, Z, and T coordinates are equal. Is this fundamental clear, people? Please make a note of this much so far. So I think so. By mistakenly I just said time is absolute when it comes to relativity. I wanted to say time is absolute when it comes to Galilean transformation, people. Time remains constant. Done, everybody? Okay. Shall we proceed? Let's continue. So now let us learn uh, a factor which is called as Lorentz transformation, people. So this was the Galilean transformation, and now let us learn Lorentz transformation. But the question is, sir, why do we have two transformations? Why cannot we use Lorentz? Why cannot we use Galilean transformations all the time? People, because Galilean transformation is limited to certain rules, whereas Lorentz transformation is universal. You can apply this anywhere and everywhere. And sir, why it is so? Uh, since, like I said, we are learning the topic relativity, let me just give you a zest of relativity in one line, people. The line that I'm going to say, this is something which is going to be very much helpful throughout our understanding of this topic. Please remember this statement that the faster you move through space, the faster you move through space, the slower you move through time. This is how I would like to describe relativity in one line, people. The faster you move through space, the slower you move through time. Let me demonstrate this to you in our thought experiment. So imagine that you are standing in front of a clock tower. Okay, so there is a clock in front of you and the clock is ticking. Okay, now, so you're obviously able to see the ticking of the clock. Tell me one thing, why are you able to see the ticking of the clock? Because the light is reflecting from the ticking and it is entering your eye. And that is how I am able to see the ticking of the clock, because the light is entering my eye. But people, even the light which is entering my eye, it has certain speed, right? Let us say I am in an air medium. I'm watching a clock tower. I am in an air medium. So with what speed the light will enter my eye? 3 into 10 raised to 8 meters per second, or you can say 3 lakhs kilometer per second. So that is the speed of light. Now tell me one thing. If a police is trying to chase a thief, here is the thief, here is the police. Now police is going to try to chase the thief. But what if both of them have the same velocity? Will the police be ever able to chase the thief? No, right? So tell me one thing, if at all I'm in a train now, if at all I'm in a train, I'm looking at the clock tower, and now I'm going to move away from the clock tower. Here is the clock tower, people. I'm going to move away from the clock tower now. So light is going to try to chase me. Light is going to try to chase me, correct? But what if I move with a speed of 3 into 10 raised to 8 meters per second? This is light, this is light, this is me. Light is going to try to chase me, but both of us are moving with 3 into 10 raised to 8 meters per second. Will the light ever enter my eye? No. So will I see the clicking? Will I see the clicking of the clicking of the clock? Sorry, ticking of the clock. Will I see the ticking of the clock, people? No, because the light is not going to enter my eye, right? It is not going to enter my eye. So how will I be able to see the ticking of the clock? For me, the clock will always be at 0, because that is what I saw initially. And now I'm moving with the speed of light. So for me, that time will freeze, people. That time will freeze then and there, because I am moving now with the speed of light. For me, the time will freeze. And let me tell you a beautiful aspect of relativity, people. It is not only an illusion, it is not only an observational illusion. This is something that happens with each and every function of my body. All the metabolic function, people, ceases when it comes to time. Matlab, we will not age. If you move with the speed of light, people, you will never age. That is your mantra to stay forever young. Move with the speed of light and you will never die. Okay, so did you get this idea, people? Time freezes as soon as you move with the speed of light, and hence that statement, the faster you move with the speed of light, the slower you move through time. Because remember, as soon as I reached the speed of light, time stopped, time ceased to exist. But what if you are not moving with the speed of light, but with the speed lesser than the speed of light, but almost equal to the speed of light? Then at least the time will run a bit slowly, not exactly the way it was running back at the clock tower when you were at rest, people. Is that clear? Samjha kya? So remember, the faster you move through space, the slower you will move through time. Is that clear? Please make a note of that statement, people. The faster you move through space, the slower you move through time. Please make a note of that statement. And देखो नहीं समझेगा मेरे को पूछो, ठीक है? Please do not hesitate, everybody. The faster you move through space, the slower you move through time. Move with the speed of light and you stay young forever. What's it? Great. So this factor which we are going to use when it comes to all the derivation, let me introduce you to something called as Lorentz factor, people. Or Lorentz factor. We denote it by gamma, and Lorentz factor is given by under root of 1 minus beta square, where beta is, everybody, the ratio of speed with which you are traveling to the speed of light. Speed with which you are traveling. Okay. Speed with which you are traveling. Object is traveling in a way. If you want, you can write object is traveling. Object is traveling. Please make a note of this Lorentz factor, people. Okay. So basically, gamma is nothing but under root of 1 minus beta. What is beta, people? V by C. So what will be beta square? V square upon C square. Sorry, people, make a correction, please. This is 1 upon. This is 1 upon. Please make a correction. This is 1 upon, and this is also 1 upon. I'm really sorry for this. Yes. Gamma is 1 upon under root of 1 minus beta square. So gamma will be 1 upon under root of 1 minus V square upon C square. Please make a correction. Okay. So let's continue. So that was Lorentz factor, people. And now let us learn Lorentz transformation. Lorentz transformation. So just like we have established, people, that in relativity, time is not absolute. Huh? Time is not absolute when it comes to relativity. It varies. Time is not absolute in relativity. I cannot say that the ticking of the clock for me will be the same as the ticking of the clock for you. If at all you are moving with the speed closer to the speed of light, then definitely, people, our time are going to be different. That is what we have established. Okay. So time is not absolute in relativity. So people, what were the Galilean transformations? We have learned that x dash is x minus vt. We have learned that y dash is y. We have learned that z dash is z, and we have learned that t dash is t. Lorentz transformation, on the other hand, it is x dash is that. Let me tell you what will be here. Something into x minus vt. Y dash will obviously will remain y. Z dash will obviously will remain z. But t dash, people, we have just learned time is not absolute. The time is different if you are in a different frame, especially if you are moving with speed of light, and that is again some constant here into t minus vx upon c square. X is your x coordinate, people. X is your x coordinate. V is the speed with which you are moving. Now, what is this dash that I have put here, people? So that is the Lorentz factor gamma. That is the Lorentz factor gamma. So these are the Lorentz transformation, people. Please make a note of it. So it is gamma into, let me write this nicely. Yes. So this is gamma into x minus vt, and this is gamma into t minus vx upon c square. Okay. So these are the Lorentz transformation, which can be used. This can be applied universally, people. Okay. Everybody, you might be thinking, sir, if at all Lorentz transformation are the ones that are always correct, then why did we learn Galilean transformation? Why can you just teach us Lorentz transformation first? Why do we need to learn Galilean transformation? People, Galilean transformation are not wrong. They are correct. But to a few limited things. Tell me one thing. Acha, chalo. Tell me one thing simply. What could be the speed with which I can run? 3 meters per second maximum. I can jump 3 meters in 1 second, maximum to maximum, correct? So this is the speed that I can attain. Suppose if I am in a train, the train can attain a maximum speed of about 30 meters per second. That is also very huge actually. But suppose if I am in a jet aeroplane, suppose it can attain a speed of 300 meters per second. Like just 3 seconds when the plane is covering a kilometer. But people, don't you realize all these speeds that we have on earth, the human speed, the train speed, the jet aeroplane speed, all these speed, they are nothing when it comes to 3 into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 meters per second. All of them, all these speeds that we have on earth, people, they are very much less than, they are very much less than, people, the speed of light c. Correct? So can I simply say that the ratio of v upon c, 3 upon 3 into 10 raised to 8, or 30 upon 3 into 10 raised to 300 upon 3 into 10 raised to 8, people, this will be 0 point something 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 something. Can I just simply approximate v by c as 0? It's fine, because I mean it does not make sense if you want to write 0.0000 something. So please, as of now, just make a note that on earth you can say that v by c is approximately equal to 0 on earth. In our day-to-day life, not exactly on earth, but in our day-to-day life on earth. In our day-to-day life on earth, v by c is approximately equal to 0. Okay? Okay. So in our day-to-day life on earth, people, v by c is approximately equal to 0. So now look at the magic. X dash in Lorentz transformation, it is gamma into into x minus v, correct? Now people, what, and y dash is y, wait, y dash is y, z dash is z, and t dash is t dash is gamma into t minus vx upon c square. First of all, let us see what happens to gamma, people. What is gamma? You have said that gamma is 1 upon under root of 1 minus beta square, correct? And this is 1 upon under root of 1 minus, what is beta, people? V square upon c square. What happens to gamma, people? What is gamma? It is under root of 1 minus v square upon c square. But people, what is v by c? Approximately equal to 0, right? So what will this become? 1 upon under root of 1 minus 0 square. So what will this become? 1 upon under root of 1, which is how much? 1. Gamma becomes equal to how much, people? 1. So what is x dash? It is gamma into x minus vt. What is gamma? 1. So this is x minus vt. Hai? What is y dash? It is y. What is z dash? It is z. And what was t dash, people? T dash was gamma into t minus vx upon c square. But what is v by c, people? What is v by c? 0 na yaar. And what is gamma? 1. You have just established that gamma is 1. T minus, or what is v by c, everybody? V by c is 0. So this is t minus 0. So what do we get? Again, we get t dash equal to c. Do you realize you have just converted Lorentz transformation into Galilean transformation? Look at this. You have just converted Lorentz transformation into Galilean transformation. Matlab, Galileo was not incorrect, people. Galileo was correct, but only when it comes to our day-to-day life. So Lorentz gives us a bigger picture. Lorentz has given us a formula which is applicable universal, but if at all you apply constraint like v is very much less than c, then all we get is Galilean transformation. So please remember, you can apply Galilean transformation, but when? Only in our day-to-day life. Otherwise, in relativity, you will have to apply what, people? Lorentz transformation. Is that clear? समझा? यहाँ तक पूरा समझा? ठीक है? कुछ भी डाउट होगा पूछ लेना. Inverse Lorentz transformation. Acha, what is the meaning of inverse, by the way? At first we expressed formula of x dash in terms of x, right? Now we have to express formula of x in terms of x dash, nothing else. Okay. So how do we do that? All we have to do, people, is just simply replace x with x dash, replace y with y dash, replace z with z dash, and replace t with t dash, and replace minus with plus, and also the other way around. And that is how we develop inverse Lorentz transformation. So let's continue from here. So what were the Lorentz equation that we have learned, everybody? X dash is equal to gamma into x minus vt, y dash is equal to y, z dash is equal to z, t dash is gamma into t minus vx upon c square. So tell me one thing. All we have to do is what? Substitution. X की जगह x dash, x dash की जगह x. So यहाँ पर x dash की जगह what did we get? X. This is gamma into. Instead of x, what will we write? X dash. Instead of minus, what will we write? Plus. V will remain V, and instead of t, what will we write, people? T dash. V will remain V, people. V will remain V. So instead of y dash, we will write y. Instead of y, we will write y dash. Instead of z dash, we will write z. Instead of z, we will write z dash. Instead of t dash, we will write t. This is gamma into, instead of t, we will write t dash. Instead of minus, we will write plus. V will remain V. X will become x dash and c squared. I hope it's clear. So these are what people inverse Lorentz transformation. But if you are wondering, so I don't really, digest this inverse transformation. How can this equation and this equation be correct at the same time? I need a proof of this. How can you say that this equation and this equation, both of them are correct, sir? I just don't digest this relationship as of now. So let us do one thing. Let us try to prove one of these relationships. Automatically, you will understand that the other relationship is also correct. Okay. So let us try to prove the first one. Let us try to prove this one, people. Okay. So let us try to prove that x is gamma into x dash plus v into t dash, right? We have to try to prove this. People, what do we know already? We know that x is gamma into x minus vd. This is what we know. This is what we know. So let us try to convert this formula into this. Sorry, we have x dash here, right? Sorry, we have x dash here. Yes, correct. Now it's fine. Okay, so this is something that we know. X dash is gamma into x minus vt, and x is gamma into x dash plus v into t dash. This is plus. Okay, so let us try to develop this relationship between them. How do we do that? Listen, we have x in this equation. We have x in this equation. So we are not going to, change x, people. We will keep the x as it is. We have x dash in this equation. We have x dash in this equation. We won't even touch x dash, people. We will keep it the same. We have gamma, we have gamma, we have v, we have v. But what are the two quantities which are different in both the equations, people? What are the two quantities which are different in both the equations? This t dash, and here I have t. So these are the two quantities which are completely different in both the equations. So what I have to do is, we have to just replace t dash, and we have to convert t dash in terms of t. People, we know that, what is the formula for t dash? Please check. T dash is gamma into t minus vx upon c square. Correct? Let us just substitute this value of t dash here. What do we get? X will be gamma into x dash plus v into, instead of t dash, what can we write, people? Hasan, ध्यान है क्या? समझ रहा है? हाँ. Instead of t dash, what can we write? Let us just write, instead of t dash, gamma into t minus vx upon c square. I hope it's clear. क्या किया मैंने यहाँ पर? I have just substituted this value of t dash, this value of t dash, gamma into t minus vx upon c square. I hope it's fine, people. समझ रहा है क्या? Open the brackets. So what will happen? X will be equal to gamma into x dash plus v gamma t minus v square gamma x upon c square. I hope it's okay. I have just opened the brackets. I have just solved this one. V gamma into t minus of v gamma into vx upon c square, which will be v square gamma x upon c square. It's clear. Is it clear until here, people? Okay. Now open the brackets. So what will we get? X will be equal to gamma into x dash plus gamma into v gamma t. So can I write it v into gamma square into t minus gamma into v square gamma x by c square. So can I write it minus v square gamma into gamma? You can write this as gamma square, people. You can write it as gamma square into x upon c square. Are you with me until here, everybody? Are you with me until here? Any doubts until here? Shall I continue? Okay. So these are the values of x so far. These are the values of x so far. Okay. What next? People, let's do one thing. Let us divide the equation by gamma square. divide by gamma square. Divide by gamma square. What do we get? X upon gamma square. This is equal to gamma x dash upon gamma square plus v gamma square t upon gamma square minus of v square gamma square x upon c square upon gamma square. I hope it's clear. What I have done is I have just divided them by gamma square. Can you copy until here, please? I need some space. Can you copy until here, please? So what will happen now? X upon gamma square. This is equal to gamma and square gets cancelled. X dash upon gamma plus gamma square gets cancelled. V into t minus of gamma square gets cancelled. V square x upon c square. All good? People, what is gamma square? What is gamma square? We have that gamma is everybody 1 upon under root of 1 minus v square upon c square, correct? So what will be gamma square? It will be 1 upon 1 minus v square upon c square. है ना? So what will be 1 upon gamma square? It will be just 1 minus v square upon c square. Correct? Correct? Okay. So this is 1 upon gamma square, right? This is 1 upon gamma square. This is 1 upon gamma square. Can I replace 1 upon gamma square with 1 minus v square upon c square? So let's do this. Let's do this thing. So instead of this, I can write x into 1 upon gamma square की जगह पर we can write 1 minus v square upon c square. This is equal to x dash upon gamma plus vt minus of v square x upon c square. So what do I get? Open the brackets. X minus x v square upon c square. This is x dash upon gamma plus vt minus of v square x upon c square. And what do you see, everybody? Minus x v square upon c square minus x v square upon c square gets cancelled. And what do we have? X is equal to x dash upon gamma plus vt. So x minus vt is x dash upon gamma, and we get gamma into x minus vt. This is x dash. So we just derived the Lorentz equation, Lorentz transformation equation from inverse Lorentz transformation equation. समझा क्या? ठीक है? We have just derived Lorentz transformation equation from inverse Lorentz transformation equation, everybody. Okay, great. Please make a note of it. So now, let us just take a question to understand what exactly we have learned so far. Achha, so the question, people, is based on a topic which is very much popular across all the entrances. The topic is called as simultaneous events. Simultaneous events. Now, this is a very interesting topic. People, do you realize one thing, that suppose there are two events which are happening on Earth. Event A happens right now at 0 seconds. And after some time, let us say after 1 or 2 seconds, event B happens. Okay. So for me, A and B are two separate events. B is happening after some time of A. A is happening initially and B is happening after some time. Is it fine? So A is a preceding event and B is the event which is happening after some time. But there must be somebody, there will be somebody in some corner of the universe which will see both these events simultaneously at the same time, and that person won't be able to understand which event happened first. You're thinking, sir, how is this possible? Sir, event A happened a while ago and event B you said is happening now. So A has obviously happened initially and B has obviously happened later. Then how can somebody pursue both the events simultaneously? Well, that is the best part that we have when it comes to our universe, people. You can keep your pens down. You can listen to this some beautiful story right now. Keep your pens down. Just enjoy this part. Do you realize one thing, that when we look at the sky, it is collection of different timeline. The sky, people, it is a collection of different timeline. What is the speed of light? 3 lakh kilometer in 1 second. Do you know what is the distance between Earth and Moon? 3,80,000 kilometers. So basically, light travels 3 lakh kilometer in 1 second, but the distance between Earth and Moon is 3,80,000 kilometers. But the light will take more than 1 second to travel from Moon to Earth. The light will take more than 1 second to travel from moon to Earth. But as soon as people, anything will happen to the moon. Suppose moon just blasted. When will I come to know? I will come to know after 1.2 seconds. So when we are looking at the moon, people, it is not the moon in the present. That moon exists 1.2 seconds before. What we are looking is the past. It is not the present, people. In fact, this was just the moon, people. Let's talk about sun. Let's talk about sun. When it comes to sun, do you know what is the distance between Earth and sun, by the way? So I was saying, what is the distance between Earth and sun? People, the sun and Earth distance between sun and Earth, on an average, it is around 1.5 into 10 raised to 11 meters, people. 1.5 into 10 raised to 11 meters. So how much time will it take for the light to travel from sun to Earth? From sun to Earth. Because speed is distance upon time, time is distance upon speed. What is the distance? 1.5 into 10 raised to 11. What is the speed? 3 into 10 raised to 8. So 1.5 upon 3, this is 0.5. 10 raised to 11 upon 10 raised to 8, this is 10 raised to 3. So 0.5 into 10 raised to 3, which is how much, people? 500 seconds. Light takes 500 seconds, which is around 8.5 minutes, people, which is around 8.5 minutes, 8 minutes and 20 seconds, 8.5 minutes. It is the amount of time that the light takes to travel from sun to Earth. Matlab, when we are looking at the sun, people, when we are looking at the sun, it is not the present sun, it is the sun which existed 8.5 minutes before. Matlab, if at all anything will happen to sun right now, when will I come to know about it? I will come to know about it after 8.5 minutes. Do you know which is the nearest star that we have in our solar system? It is called, as people, Proxima Centauri. It is around 4 light years away from here. Which means light takes about 4 years to travel from, Proxima Centauri to Earth. But when we are looking at the Proxima Centauri, we are looking 4 years into the past. Where is Proxima Centauri right now? How it is looking, we have no idea whatsoever. The current state of Proxima Centauri will be visible to us after 4 years. By the way, this is the nearest star, not the brightest star. Please don't be confused. Nearest is not equal to brightness. No. The brightest of all the stars is the Sirius star, people. The Sirius. Sirius. Sirius star, it is the brightest of all the stars for us. And people, that is around 8 light years away from here. So when we are looking at this brightest star into the sky, people, it is not the current state of the star, it is the star that existed 8 years before, because the light that was released from the Sirius star is reaching us right now after 8 years. Let me give you another information, which is the farthest visible star that we have when it comes to our naked eye, which is the farthest visible star from our naked eye, people. It is around 4,000 light years away. Basically, before Einstein, Newton, and before Jesus Christ, that star had thrown his lights, and that light is reaching us today, people. So understand, when you're looking at the sky, you're looking at so many stars, Proxima Centauri or the Pole Star or this brightest star that you have 4,000 light years away. This is collection of all the different timelines, because one star is right now what I'm seeing, because remember, because for us all these events are simultaneous, right? All these events for us are simultaneous, but Do you think all these events were simultaneous? They were not, right? All these events were not simultaneous, people. Acha, am I audible? I'm just a bit confused here. All good? Yes, yes. So I was saying that all these star people, they were not simultaneous when it comes to their origin. A light was emitted 200 years ago, a light was emitted 4 years ago, a light was emitted 4,000 years ago, but all of it we are able to see right now in one frame. So all these events for us are simultaneous. So I hope you get this fact that for somebody, some event might be simultaneous, and for somebody, some event might not be simultaneous. Is it clear? It depends on the frame of reference, people. It depends on the frame of reference. Okay, so let's continue. So let us take a question on this simultaneous event, people. Here we go. Let us take this question. Okay. So the question is, two events 10 raised to minus 7 seconds apart in time take place at 2 points 50 meter apart on the x-axis. Find the speed of an observer moving along the x-axis who observes the two events simultaneously. What will be the spatial separation between these two events as seen by this observer? Okay, so let's solve this. What have they given? Two events 10 raised to minus 7 seconds apart in time. So suppose we have two x's, x versus time, and here I have two events A and B. Here I have two events A and B. A happens at 0 second, people. A happens at 0 second, and after 10 raised to minus 7 seconds B happens, people. B happens after 10 raised to minus 7 seconds, correct? Let us say the coordinates of A. Achha, just hold on, let me redraw this diagram. Suppose we have A here, and let us say achha, along x-axis now. Hold on. Suppose let me just draw this x-axis, one axis. A is here, and let us say B is here, everybody. Okay. Let us say the coordinates of A are 0, 0, 0, and 0. X, Y, x1, y1, z1, and t1. And coordinates of B are, people, there is a difference between A and B. How much? They're separated by 50 meters. So this distance is how much, people? 50 meters. So the x coordinate is 50, but the y coordinate is 0, the z coordinate 0, and these two events are separated by how much time, people? 10 raised to minus 7 seconds. These two events are separated by 10 raised to minus 7 seconds, correct? So let us say this is x2, this is y2, this is z2, and this is t2. All good? Okay? Now, these two events are separate events, but they are saying we need to find the speed of an observer who is moving along x-axis. Let us say s dash frame. This is s frame, people. Somebody is moving along x dash frame with some velocity v, and this person observe these two events simultaneously. Well, for this person in s dash frame, people, the event one time is equal to the event two time. Is this much clear, everybody? For this person in S dash frame, event one time and event two time are what, people? Simultaneous. Okay? Please make a note of these coordinates so far. Please make a note of these coordinates so far. Did you got the coordinates right? Achha, remember, relativity is a four-dimensional world. So we don't write x, y, z. We write x, y, z and time as well. Time is the fourth coordinate. Okay. So these are the coordinates that we have written so far. I have made you pen down the coordinates because I'm going to delete the screen, people. I need space. So I hope you have written the coordinates. Now let us just apply the formula, people. What do we have? X dash is gamma. X dash is gamma into x minus vt. Correct? Y dash is y. Z dash is z. And t dash is gamma into t minus vx upon c square. Correct? Correct? I will write it two times, people. X dash is gamma into x minus vt, then y dash is y, z dash is z, and t dash is gamma into t minus vx upon c square. And now I'm going to put the subscripts. Let us say this is for event 1, x1 dash, x1, t1. y1 dash y1, z1 dash z1, t1 dash t1, x1, x2 dash x2, t2, y2 dash y2, z2 dash z2, t2 dash t2, x2. So this is for event 1 and this is for event 2. ठीक है, we have applied Lorentz transformation for event 1 and event 2. समझ रहा है? We have applied Lorentz transformation for event 1 and event 2. Now let us just substitute the relationship, people. What do we have? So x1 dash will be equal to, what is the value of gamma, people? Let us just keep it gamma. So what do we have? X1, what is x1, people? Please check, what is x1? X1 is 0 minus v into, what is t1, people? Please check, what is t1? T1 is 0. So what is x1 dash then? X1 dash is simply 0, people. X1 dash is simply 0. 0 minus 0. है ना? Similarly, y1 dash is y1. But what is y1, people? It is 0. z1 dash is z1. What is z1, people? It is 0. t1 dash, this is gamma into t minus vx upon c square, right? So this is gamma into, what is t1, people? Please check. What is t1? T1 is 0 minus v upon c square. What is x1, people? Please check. X1 is 0. So even t1 dash is 0, people. Are you with me until here? X1 dash, y1 dash, z1 dash, t1 dash, all of them are what, people? 0. But what about x2 dash, y2 dash, z2 dash and t2 dash? So let's solve. X2 dash, everybody. It is gamma into, what is x2? What is x2? X2 is, please check in your notebook, you have written. What is x2, people? It is 50. X2 is 50. Minus v into, what is t2? You have written 10 raised to minus 7. NIR. So y, similarly, y2 dash, what is y2? 0. What is z2? What is z2, people? 0. And then t2 dash is gamma into, what is t2? 10 raised to minus 7 minus v upon c square. What is x2? 50. समझा क्या? Are these relationships clear, people? Are these relationships clear? Okay. And what do we have? What do we have, everybody? T1 dash is equal to T2 dash. What do we have? T1 dash is equal to T2 dash because these two events are simultaneous. So what is T1 dash? It is 0. What is T2 dash? It is gamma into 10 raised to minus 7 minus v upon c square into 50. Correct? Correct? So 0 upon gamma is 0. So this is 10 raised to minus 7. This is minus 7, okay? 10 raised to minus 7 minus v upon c square into 50. So v upon c square into 50. This is 10 raised to minus 7. So v upon c square, or you can just write v is 10 raised to minus 7, 10 raised to minus 7 c square upon 50. So v is, everybody, 10 raised to minus 7. What is c square? 9 into 10 raised to 16. C is 3 into 10 raised to 8, correct? C square will be what? 9 into 10 raised to 16 upon 50. And we just found the value of velocity, people. What is it? 9 upon 50. So 9 upon 50, this is 0.18 into 10 raised to 16 minus 7, 9. V is how much, people? 0.18 into 10 raised to 9. Or you can say V is, let me use a different color. You can say V is how much, people? 1.8 into 10 raised to 8 meters per second. Okay, so let's continue. People, what is the value of V that we just got? We have found out that V is 1.8 into 10 raised to 8 meters per second. We have to express V in terms of speed of light, people. So this is 1.8 into 10 raised to 8 upon 3 into 10 raised to 8 meters per second in terms of light. I'm just trying to derive the relationship in terms of light. So V by C is how much, people? 0.6. 1.8 upon 3 is 0.6. These two gets cancelled, right? 1.8 upon 3 is 0.6. So V is 0.6 times C, people. Okay? V is 0.6 times C. अरे 18 upon 3 क्या होता है? 6 ना यार. So 1.8 upon 3 is 0.6. So there is another question here. What will be the spatial separation between these two events as seen by the observer? Spatial separation between these two events as seen by the observer. मतलब x2 dash minus x1 dash. Spatial separation. between these two events as seen by the observer, which is x2 dash minus x1 dash. What is x2 dash, people? It is gamma into x2 minus vt. And what is x1 dash? It is gamma into x1 minus vt. You've already, I think so, derived x1 dash. Na? x1 dash is 0. You've already, I think, written all these values. You have written this as gamma into, what is, please check, I think you have written 50 minus v into 10 raised to minus 7, right? And x1 dash is 0. You have already written these values, correct? Yes. So this is gamma. What is gamma, people? You can calculate the gamma separately. Gamma is 1 upon under root of 1 minus v square upon c square. So gamma will be simply 1 upon under root of 1 minus v square upon c square, people. V upon c is how much? V upon c you have calculated. V is 0.6 times c, right? So v upon c is 0.6. So v square upon c square, this will be v square upon c square. This will be 0.36. V square upon c square, this will be 0.36. Okay. So let's just write it. V square upon c square, this is how much? 0.36. So gamma is 1 upon under root of 0.64. So gamma is 1 upon, what is the square root of 64? 8. What is the square root of 0.64, people? 0.8. So gamma is 1 upon 0.8, which you can write it as 10 upon 8, which is 5 upon 4, or you can write it as 1.25. 1.25. Clear? So this is 1.25 into 50 minus of, what is V, people? V is 1.8 into 10 raised to 8 into 10 raised to minus 7. This is V, people. This is V into 10 raised to minus 7. So what do we get? 1.25 into 50 minus of 1.8 into 10 raised to 8 and 10 raised to minus 7. This will become 10. 10 raised to 8 into 10 raised to minus 7. This will become 10. So what do we get? 1.25 into 50 minus of 1.8 into 10. This is 18. So this is 1.25 into 32. 32 into 1.25, people. This is 40 meters. So listen. In the original frame, they were separated by 50 meters, but for the person who was observing when it was traveling, it is how much, people? 40 meters. Not only the time dilates, people, but also the length contracts. In relativity, not only the time becomes slow, but also the length contracts, people. Is that clear? Not only, but basically space and time, both of them are affected, people. Both of them are affected. Is that clear? Samjha kya? Not only the time dilates, but also the space contracts. Clear? Copied? Would you like to try one sum now from some entrance? Okay. So let's try this question. Have you copied this much? Okay. So let me give you one question. Please try this. Just 2012. So Himanshi has given me an answer, and okay, Achu is also, I think, trying to give me an answer. Yes, Ashu, bolo. So even Achu has given me an answer. Yes, people. I'm really happy to see that both of you have solved this question. Perfect. That's the correct answer, everybody. Good done. Good job done. Abin, did you try to solve this? Okay, so let me give you a trick to solve this question now. Henceforth, you don't have to use this whole detailed formula. If you realize, all you have to always do is equate T1 dash equal to T2 dash, correct? Always we have to do this, always. And one of the event, you always assume it at 0 second, and the other event always goes as gamma into T minus Vx upon C square. So you can simply, even the gamma will become 0, all you will be left with 0 is T minus Vx upon C square. Please remember, you can use this trick directly. You can simply use this formula for these questions, which is what? T is simply Vx upon C square. That's it. Use this much and you are done, people. Next time you don't have to solve everything. Please check. What is V? V is how much? V is, V we have to find, right? Yes. So they have given us time. Time is how much? 5 microseconds. 5 micro. V, which is something we have to find. X, which is how much? 5 kilometers. So it is 5 into 10 raised to 3 meters upon C square. C square में you can write it 3 into 10 raised to 8 into C. I anyway require one C, right? I anyway require one C. So yes, you can do that. So this is simply 5 and 5 gets cancelled. So that's it. By the way, you don't have to solve everything out. This is 3 into 10 raised to 8 micro upon 10 raised to 3 C. This is V. Please, you don't need to solve this. There is only one option when it comes to 3 anyway. Why do you want to solve? You have already got 3, right? You have already got 3, so you don't have to solve what is the power of this. But if you'll solve this, you'll get the answer. So please remember this trick, which can be used to solve all the questions on this. Okay. So next, now let us learn, people, time dilation and length contraction. Time dilation. Please understand something which I have already explained to you, but let me just write it in a statement. If I am in a spaceship, if I am in a spaceship, which is moving with a speed closer to the speed of light, then my time will run slowly as comparatively to somebody outside, somebody on earth. I hope we have already established this before when I gave you the clock tower example, correct? If you move with the speed of light, your time stops, people, right? Or if you are moving with a speed which is closer to the speed of light, then obviously your time will slow down. So for somebody outside, if at all, let's say on earth, let us just say example, on earth, if the speed if the time is around 2 seconds, then for me time will be less than 2 seconds, people. For me it will be less than 2 seconds. It could be 1.5 second, it could be 1 second. For me time will, people, what, slow down. And please understand that for me I am at rest. For me I am at rest. I am at rest. Okay. So the formula for time dilation, people, goes something like T dash is T, you can just write this as gamma into T, gamma into tau naught. Wait, hold on. You can just write tau is gamma into tau naught. Okay. This is the formula for time dilation, people. What is gamma? It is 1 upon under root of 1 minus v square upon c square. Okay. And tau naught is the time in my rest frame. Time in my rest frame. In my rest frame. And tau is basically the time observed by somebody on earth. Time observed by people on earth. People on earth. Okay. You can also write gamma is what, people, 1 upon under root of v square minus c square, right? So this is tau naught into 1 upon v square minus c square. This is how also you can write it. I have just replaced gamma with its value. Okay. So now should we take a question again? Done? Okay, so let's take a question now. So here we go. Evan, were you writing? Himanshu, were you writing? Should I show the screen again or it's okay? It's okay, right? Okay. So let's take this question. Here we go. The question is, hold on, not this one. Yes. A meson in its rest frame has an average lifetime of 2.21 microseconds. If mesons are formed high in the atmosphere and it travel with a speed of 0.99 times c, then find the average distance traveled by the meson before decaying. People, I hope you know that meson decays. They have an average lifetime of about microseconds. So what is the question? A meson in its rest frame has time of 2.21 microsecond. It's like me in my spaceship. I am at rest, and for me time is 2.21 microseconds, people. My time is slow, right? So for people outside, they will have some larger time, 3 second, 4 second, correct? For people outside, they will have some larger time. I hope it's clear. So yes, where were we, people? Yes, so people, this is me in my rest frame. When I am traveling, the time that I experience is lesser than the time that people on earth will experience. So meson in its rest frame, it has a time of 2.21 microseconds. So people, what do you think? Is this tau or is it tau naught? What is it? It is meson in its rest frame, right? It is tau naught, correct? So tau naught is given to us, which is how much? 2.21 microseconds. Great. Now, if mesons are formed high in the atmosphere and they travel with a speed of 0.99 times t, and a person is observing, man lo, understand, suppose the person is observing, and here is meson. Meson is traveling with some speed v. So they are asking how much distance it will travel before it decays, as observed by the person, people. Obviously, as observed by the person. Okay. So for that, you need to first find the time as per the person. Time for the person. Tell me one thing logically. Will the time be greater than 2.21 or less than 2.21? Person is going to observe from Earth. Obviously, it will be greater. Obviously, it will be greater because for me, time will slow down, right? Because I'm moving with some speed. So for them, time will be some greater. Let's calculate. So tau is everybody tau naught upon under root of 1 minus v square upon c square. So tau is tau naught, which is 2.21 microseconds upon under root of 1 minus v square. V is 0.99 times c. So 0.99 c the whole square upon c square. So this is 2.21 micro upon under root of 1 minus c square. C square gets cancelled, people. 0.99 square is 0.9801. I hope you know the square of 99. It is a very popular square. 99 square is everybody 9801. Okay, so 0.99 square will be 0.9801. So this is 2.21 micro upon under root of 1 minus 0.9801. This will be 0.199. 0.199. So what do we have now? So tau is everybody 2.21 micro upon under root of 0.999. Asha, by the way, this is 0.0199. Huh? This is 0.0199. Hold on. This is obviously this is 0.0199. Huh. Yes. You can calculate. Dekho yaar, 1.000 and then you can subtract 0.9801. See, calculate. So 99100. 0.0199. Okay. So what do we have? Square root of 0.0199 using calculator, we will get it around 0.1410. And that 2.21 upon 0.1410 using calculator will again get it to around 15.67 microsecond. So like we suspected, people, for people on Earth, time is how much? 15.67 second. But the meson traveling, for meson, the time was how much, people? 2.21 microsecond. The time dilated massively from 15.67 to 2.21. Okay. So how much distance will it travel as observed by the people? People's speed is distance upon time. Time is distance is speed into time. So v into tau. What is speed? It is 0.99 c into tau, which is how much? 15.67 micro. So you can calculate the distance in meters. Understood? Did you get the idea of this? Clear? So later you can write, substitute c as 3 into 10 raised to 8 and micro is 10 raised to minus 6, and you will get the answers in meters. Easy, people? So will you be able to do questions on time dilation if asked? Okay. So let's proceed and jump on to length contraction, everybody. Length contraction. So that is something that I have already told you that tell me one thing, it's logical. If at all, suppose I'm in a spaceship and I'm traveling in a spaceship. Obviously the length for me won't contract, right? I'm not going to contract for me. If let's say the spaceship is a kilometer long, I can still take a measuring tape and I can still measure it to be 1 kilometer. For me, it is not going to change because for me, I'm at rest. But for somebody who's going to observe from outside, for them, since I'm traveling with so much speed, for them, my length of the spaceship is going to contract. For them, my length of spaceship is going to contract. So the length contraction formula is given by L is L0 upon gamma, people. So L0 is the length in my rest frame. Length in my rest frame. And L is everybody length observed by people on Earth. Length observed by people on Earth. So people, L will be gamma is 1 upon under root of v square minus c square. So this is 1 upon under root of 1 minus v square upon c square. So L will be equal to under root of 1 minus v square upon c square into L naught. Please note one thing, people, that length contracts along the direction of velocity. The direction of velocity. The perpendicular length does not contract. People, the perpendicular length to the velocity, perpendicular length to velocity remains unaffected. Remains unaffected. Unaffected. So basically the idea is, suppose if I have a circle, okay, and let us say the circle is revolving, let's say the circle is moving along this axis with a speed almost equal to speed of light, with the speed tending to equal to speed of light. Then how will it look like? What did we just say? It will contract along the direction, but it will remain same when it comes to the, yes, you are guessing it correct, Achut. So basically it will look like something like this, ellipsoid. It will look something like an ellipse. It will contract along the direction, but its height will people remain unchanged. I hope it's clear. Abin, all good? Okay. So basically a circle will look like an ellipse when it will contract. Okay. So let's take a question on the same now. Okay, so a very good question which was asked in IIT JAM 2015, people. Let me tell you a story of this, by the way. I gave IIT JAM 2015, people. So that question that was asked, I'm still a bit surprised about something. All the solutions that I'm seeing on the website, on the internet, they are elongated, lengthy solutions. I never solved it that way. But first I will teach you the method that is available online, which I think almost everybody else is teaching. And then I will tell you the method which I used to solve it in 2015 IIT JAM paper. Okay, so we'll use two methods, because the first method is good. It is elaborated, it is good, but it is not required, but it is good. So let's first learn the first method which is probably used by everyone. Then I will teach you my method. So let's solve this question. Question is, a rod is moving with a speed of 0.8 c in a direction 60 degree to its own length. The percentage contraction in the length of the rod is, okay. So what others have done is they have assumed that rod is inclined at an angle and it is moving like this at 60 degree. Rod is moving at 60 degree to its own length, something like this. Okay, so this is what they have assumed, people. So let's say this is the velocity of light, this is v, and this is how much, people? 60 degree, and it is moving with how much speed, people? 0.8 c. It is moving with 0.8 c. Okay, let us say the original length of the rod is L naught. Tell me what will be the length along x-axis? L naught cos 60, correct? And what will be the length along y-axis? L naught sin 60, right? So this will be L naught into half, which is L naught by 2. This will be L naught into root 3 by 2, which you can write it as root 3 L naught by 2. Okay, but these are the original lengths, people. These are the original lengths, not the contracted lengths. Okay, now since it is moving along x-axis with speed of light, so what will happen, people? Length along x-axis will contract, Lx will contract. Any doubts? Lx will contract because it is moving along x-axis, but what will happen to Ly? Ly will remain unchanged. Ly will remain unchanged. Ly will remain unchanged. So let us first calculate Lx dash, people. Lx dash can be written as Lx into 1 minus V square upon C square. So Lx is how much? L naught by 2 into under root of 1 minus V square by C square. V is 0.8. So V by C. V is 0.8 C. So V by C is 0.8. So V square upon C square. V square upon C square. This is 0.64. 0.8 ka square. 8 ka square is 64. 0.8 ka square is 0.64. So this is L naught by 2. This is how much? Under root of 0.36. So this is L naught by 2. This is how much? 0.6. 36 ka square root is 6. 0.36 ka square root is 0.6. So 0.6 by 2. This is how much, people? 0.3 into L naught. This is the value of Lx dash. But remember, Ly dash and Ly are same. Huh? Ly dash and Ly are same because Ly dash won't change. So what is Ly dash, everybody? It is simply root 3 L naught by 2. Ly dash does not change. Ly dash does not change. So Lx dash you have found. You have also found Ly dash. Can I now find L dash, people? Can I say L dash is Lx dash square plus Ly dash square? Correct? You can use the components. L dash is under root of Lx dash square plus Ly dash square. So this will be 0.3 L naught square plus root 3 by 2 L naught square. Correct? So what do we have? So I have L dash is equal to under root of 0.3 is everybody 0.09 L naught square plus root 3 ka square is 3, 2 ka square is 4 L naught square. So we have L dash is under root of 0.09 L naught square plus what is 3 by 4? 0.75 L naught square. Please copy this much. I think so. I will require space. Achha, I have space here. Yes, yes. So L dash is this is under root of 0.09 plus 0.75. This is 0.84 L naught square. 0.84 L naught square. You can use the calculator now and you can check what is the square root of 0.84. It will come out to be 0.916 L naught. So this is the value of L dash. And what have they asked people? They have asked us to calculate percentage contraction. Percentage contraction. So let us calculate the percentage. Percentage can be calculated using L dash minus L naught upon L naught into 100. This is the percentage contraction. Change in length upon original length ना यार. Percentage contraction. Contraction मतलब क्या? Contraction मतलब change in length. Contraction मतलब change in length. Original length मतलब L naught. Percent मतलब 100. What is change in length? L dash minus L naught. Correct? What is change in length? L dash minus L naught upon L naught into 100. Please calculate and see. Tell me what is the value. So I think so. You can calculate L dash minus L naught upon L naught into 100 as 0.916 L naught minus L naught upon L naught into 100. So this is minus 0.084 L naught upon L naught into 100. So L naught gets cancelled. So this is minus of 8.4% people. Minus only tells you that the answer is in contraction. Right? Now let me give you the method which I used, okay, and not this elaborative one. So let's do that. So people, I read the, I tried to use the English of the question. They have said a rod is moving with a speed with 0.8 c in a direction to its own length. So I took the length along x-axis. And I said that the rod is moving at an angle of 60 degrees, like this. Wait, I will just redraw to create some space. I said that let's say this is the length of the rod. It is moving at an angle of 60 degrees like this. Well, initially it's here. After some time it will be here. After some time it will be here. Samjha kya? It is moving along x-axis, people. So at an angle of 60 degrees like this. Okay. Now, so tell me, this is L naught. Now, what is the component of the velocity? People, this is 60 degrees. This is 60 degrees. And let us say that this is velocity v. This is velocity v, which is how much? 0.8 into c. 0.8 into c. Okay. Now, what is the component of the velocity along x-axis, people? V cos 60. V cos 60. So this will be, what is v? 0.8 c into cos 60. Half. So I just got the value of v along x-axis, which is how much? 0.4 C, right? All good? Can I now use Lx dash is Lx into 1 minus under root of V square minus C square? Okay. What is Lx? L naught under root of 1 minus 0.4 square. So this will be L naught C square gets cancelled. Okay, C square gets cancelled. This is 1 minus 0.16. Look at this, I got the same value in just 1 minute. Please check. It is the same value in just 1 minute, people. It is all the same thing. This is 0.916 L naught. I am really not sure why the other solution is popular on the internet. I think this solution should be more popular, right? This is more easier. But anyway, that solution is good because you understand how to divide things along x-axis and y-axis. So that solution is more informative. But however, when it comes to entrances, I think so you should use this method. Okay.